So, as you mentioned, I'm Abbey Sparks, and I am the head of e-commerce at Boldr. Of course, our clients right now are all really excited and experiencing a lot of, new information about AI. And so, as part of that team and as Boldr, we want to make sure that we're, learning right alongside them and making sure that we can provide them with the best support as we move in this direction. So, I'm really excited to be here today and excited to get things kicked off. I know there's tons of learning to be had and exciting insights as well. So thank you so much for having me. This is going to be great.
Yeah, thanks, Abbey. So what if we start maybe from the first question? I think just a high level. I think you work with a lot of companies which are scaling or about to scale, and what challenges you see the customer support teams face when they're scaling their operations?
It's a great question. As I think about our teams internally and the support teams of our clients, that we're supporting, there is, this amazing sense of the different volumes and the diversity in the different communication channels that we're currently supporting, which is phenomenal. And I think our team does a really great job of navigating those different communication channels. With that comes, different customer expectations as well. And we see that, of course, in our KPI, different standards and targets that we're looking at for these different channels. And so that can be, challenges that we face. How those tickets and those communications are triaged or what paths they follow for escalation to make sure that they get to the right team member with the right skill set. Are some of the things that we're seeing challenges with. Some of that is supported right now just based on different automation tools and tagging, which is phenomenal, but it's not always perfect, as we well know. And there's always change management, especially I think in the e-commerce space, but really likely any company sees a lot of different changes by way of, process changes, marketing updates, different key internal client strategies on how they want to handle things. We've got seasonality. So there's a lot of changing, metrics and things that our team members need to be aware of in order to provide, really awesome and consistent support to these customers and, make sure that we make our clients proud. So those are a couple of things that I can think of, as we look at some of the challenges that are facing our support teams. The only other one I would maybe add in there as well is just some integration, maybe lack of integration with other systems. And so having to navigate multiple platforms at a time to ensure that they have all the knowledge and information that they need, as well as to make sure that they can do the processes efficiently and effectively. So yeah, those are, I think, some of the challenges that we're currently faced with. I'm really interested, Chyngyz, as I kind of describe some of these, I'd be so interested to get your knowledge and ideas around what potential AI support or tooling is available that could help and address some of these challenges that we're looking at.
Yeah, totally. So a couple of months ago, we published a white paper, use cases in customer support leveraging generative AI. So, and we've identified, like a bunch of use cases, but at the very high level, we kind of, think about one is more like enabling agents to do more productive work, more consistent, basically like use AI for empowering agents workflows. The second set of work, like we believe, second set of tools that can be helpful for companies is self-service for customers. It's more like about resolving customers' problems without letting customers create tickets. So that's the broad division, I think, the way we see. And within the first bucket of agent tooling, we see that simple things like summarizing tickets, whenever there's, and I think you mentioned something which we've seen as well, which is that CX tools are fragmented. There's so many tools CX teams use. They will have to always switch the context. They get a ticket in ticketing platform, but in order to complete the workflow, they have to go elsewhere. Like they have to read a SOP, they have to go into like order management system and whatnot. And basically, there's a lot of stuff they have to do. And we believe that there's a way that AI can streamline these processes and kind of, present all the knowledge, all the contextual information at the fingertips of an agent. I think that's the big opportunity we see. The second tool is very similar, I think, to what I think all chatbots were doing. Like, I think right now with this LLM, like generative AI, GPT-4, ChatGPT, I think what it made it, what's the big difference, I think, and the biggest insight we've had so far. We also, we started building chatbots 2 years ago, but it was not based on large language models. It was based on like this old school, like where we go and based on keywords, we kind of, instructed chatbot what to say. And I think the biggest change, I think, with this new way of building the chatbots, it's the new chatbots. You have to be teaching a chatbot what not to say, because it's trained on the whole like internet data. It knows everything. So the challenge right now is the opposite to the challenge with all chatbots. With all chatbots, you have to tell chatbot what to say, what to do. You have to start from scratch. With new way of building chatbots, it's all about what the chatbot, telling a chatbot what not to say. That's the biggest, I think, insight we've had. And it's basically putting guardrails, putting all this frameworks so that, whenever you build a chatbot on ChatGPT or on OpenAI's API, that it doesn't answer all the questions. Like, let's say like you have a company in one space, and then, your customer comes and asks a question about your competitor. So you don't want your chatbot to be answering those, So I think this is some high-level thoughts, but we believe that there's a possibility in both applications, both customer-facing and agent-facing, and there are a few real-world examples as well. Like we see, like summarization, or there could be like automatically generating suggestions how to reply to this customer, like also like embedding the tone and voice of your company's brand. So for example, if you have specific voice, how you communicate with customers, maybe you're very informal or very polite. So then you can also like embed this into your workflows. Also, one thing we've seen is knowledge base. So AI can help you identify gaps in your knowledge base. So, for example, you see that, for example, customers are coming and not getting answers to some questions, and they're creating tickets. Then, if the question didn't require actions on the agent side, why not to create a KB article? So AI can really help with that. So based on the answer the agent provided, maybe a few examples, and say like, can you just create me a KB article, and which you can include and include into your chatbot experience. So in the future, the customers who have similar questions, they will be, getting this answer from a chatbot. So I think that's a high level real world examples we see as well.
Amazing. I think too, as you're speaking about this, I think, there's such an opportunity for us to ensure that there is like this support consistency, and that, our client's voice and the voice of our team members feels consistent, and the support that we're giving and the answers that we're giving to the customers are consistent as well. And so I can see, so much potential, for our teams in having that, level of support through AI to guide them too. So I think that's really, really cool. Very neat.
Yeah. We've, one example I recently saw, it's a mental health startup, and their customers are all in the US, and the patients, I would say, and they were outsourcing to like other like very far countries like Philippines, I think India. And so one question one of the challenges that this company was facing is how to train these agents in Philippines, and in how to talk to customer or patients in the US who are experiencing some mental health issues. So, and like there's some cultural differences, right? Which I think you would have to incorporate. And so they spend a lot of time training people, how to talk in a language that is, that is like empathetic and like that kind of reflects the company's values and mission. So I think here AI can not replace human beings, but can help them, like transfer the voice, I think, of the company and embed this as part of this. This is one example I saw recently, and I saw like, oh, this would be a perfect case study, for AI giving the voice and making consistent across different agents.
Amazing. That's incredible. And, as you talk about that, Chyngyz, I know, we're going to talk about, you've already noted a bunch of practical examples of these AI tools, but, when thinking about some of these, how easy is it for clients and companies to attach their, client voice, to train the chat to, not necessarily pull from the whole internet, but really from their, SOPs? Is this something that is easily done? Are there, tools to support that?
Yeah, so we actually do that, right? So we spent a lot of time thinking about guardrails, how to, make sure that the voice of your company is consistent across different agents. I think there are a bunch of tools. I think in terms of, yeah, I guess like there are a bunch of tools. I would say that, and for us, I mean, the way we look at this is. Always, I think the tips we give to our customers is you first have to start with your data. I think your data has to be clean, has to be organized, because AI is not like, might sound and looks like magic, but it's actually not. It's always like garbage in, garbage out. So if your data is not clean, then the output of this won't be great. Another thing, I guess, depending on the industry, I think I'm not sure like what kind of people from which industries people are tuning in, but I would say like always think about the importance of accuracy and outcome of the conversation, because for healthcare, right? I think the importance of accuracy and outcome is super high, like super high. For marketing, when you're generating copies, right? You don't care as much, I think, about the accuracy of the output. You can create a few versions of it. You can iterate, you can play, you can A/B test. So I think it's less strict, and it's less. I mean, there's not much to lose, I would say, with marketing. I think customer support, I would personally put this somewhere in between, because it's important, but not that important maybe as like health outcomes, but it's still important. So that's why I think emphasizing accuracy in your models is super important, because hallucination is real. Like I've tested so many times, and I see that AI is still not there in terms of like you cannot just rely on AI do the whole thing. So hallucination is the real problem, and that's why we approach this from agent's perspective. So we think human in the loop is the way to go, because you have a human who is trained and they're just empowered by AI. I think that's kind of how we think about evolution in the next 5-10 years of tooling for customer support teams.
Amazing.
Yeah. Also, like I mean, this is yeah. I mean, you guys spend a lot of time on like real operations. I think I'd love to get some maybe your takes on what do you think are the main challenges for your clients when they're thinking about adopting AI, right? Because you talk to them and like they definitely there's something, but I think there's still like I guess some challenges, or what are clients thinking, like, and what's kind of preventing them from adopting AI tomorrow or like next month?
Such a great question. And I think, this kind of touches on what you were just saying about, having humans still, connected to the output or the customer facing side of things, having them still being a part of that piece of the customer support experience. One of the things that I do know with our clients is the trust aspect of, who's got eyes on what AI is pushing out, and how it's supporting the customer base. To me, it really boils down to really needing or wanting more simplified education on AI, what it's capable of to build that trust for clients and executives specifically. Even myself as a millennial, I like to think that I'm pretty tech savvy, pretty up on the news. and want to learn and continue to grow. But in some cases, depending upon where your AI information is coming from and who's delivering it, we can really see a vast difference in the level of explanation or how technical some of these educational moments are. And I think simplifying that education so that it is accessible for all levels of technical understanding is a really beautiful place to start, and where I kind of see a lot of our clients' fear around stepping into AI. Now, because AI is, really hot topic, we're definitely seeing a lot of our clients, wanting more information and, us to jump in and support them and find different avenues and solutions and promote, the right tools for them in this space as they start to kind of explore and learn more about AI. It's definitely a hot topic. So, they have, given us some great insight, and we've been able to learn alongside with them in a lot of different areas. And some of the other kind of pain points that we're seeing is some integration concerns or challenges, whether it's with integrating into existing systems that have like customized, back ends or things like that. But also the integration from the standpoint of needing in-house resources from like a technical or engineering background to help kind of map or, install these AI technologies into the existing systems that the client already has. And so the lack of those resources internally for our clients can sometimes stall the implementation of these AI systems, no matter how on board our clients are. Not having that skill set in house can kind of put a hold or a pause on being able to get these systems integrated in the way that they would like to see them done. So a lot of our clients are looking for kind of like a full service AI, support option where it gets fully integrated for them, and all of the implementation is done for them. So that's something that they're seeing as a challenge, but also really looking for as well.
One question I kind of follow up, I think, maybe I think we see that lots of support leaders are kind of confused because they started getting so many emails and like so much outreach, right, from new AI companies. And I think one question I had was like, hey, like how do you make sense of this? Like what's the lay of the land, right? And there are like so many tools and there's so many things happening. Space is moving so fast. And I don't know, like if your customers come to you with these questions and like, hey, can you help me make sense of this like space? And like, because I think they trust you, right? Because you built this relationship with them. Do you get these requests a lot, or it's something?
We do. Yeah, we do for sure. So we definitely see our clients, reaching out to us based on the level of saturation in the AI space right now, specifically, in support for customers. You're exactly right. They are getting inundated with a lot of outreach from these companies, and they want to know from us, what are our other clients doing? What platforms or AI services do we recommend that we're standing behind? And I think that comes from experience with potentially, again, that fear base of not necessarily knowing exactly all the pieces of the puzzle, but also sometimes, depending on the platform, depending on the AI company, there might feel like a lack of transparency of what is needed from the client side of things to actually integrate and make sure that this solution is operational for their team. And so we do see a lot of that.
Yeah. I just want to kind of, kind of one warning, I think, for like support leaders is I think the demos are super shiny. They look amazing. I think, but then the real, like when you start implementing, I heard so many complaints that the tool was not delivering. So I think also like making sure, I think I would encourage people who are, considering tools to do like these trials, like before you commit to a year-long contract because demos are shiny and the technology is so new. It's also like there's so many other variables, like the quality of your data, the quality, like the systems you want to integrate with. So there's so many like variables, and also like tech is still, it's still kind of new, right? So it hasn't been like, in the market for like multiple years. So that's why I would also like, encourage people to think about testing these tools like for a month, 2 months before committing to, year-long or 2-year contract. So, and that's kind of something I've seen as well. So I would definitely encourage people to think about like testing first.
Yeah, and Chyngyz, you touch on a really important point. I think a lot of our clients too express, the cost of implementation, the cost of these types of features. You know, they're not small investments to make, and I think a lot of our clients want to feel really certain and have a high level of trust that the ROI in these investments is going to make sense for them long term, and that they're not necessarily choosing a company or a solution that isn't necessarily going to be around or isn't going to be able to scale and grow and continue to innovate as time progresses. And I think, from my perspective, I think that comes from their experience with other platforms, right? We see the same things with our CRMs or our soft phones or omni-channel solutions, of course, where, offerings change or they're not necessarily scaling or improving the service at the same rate as other competitors are. And tech migrations from one system to another are major,
Oh,
major undertakings, right? So you want to make the right decision right off the hop, and you want to know that that money that you're putting forward and investing is going to have the ROI long term that your company needs, in order to make this successful.
totally. I totally agree, and I think that's why I was telling about this trials, right? Because you can easily justify this request because the tech is new. Like you can just say like, hey, like if it was a ticketing CRM, yes, I mean we know how ticketing CRMs should operate, right? But with AI, it's like a black box, right? The way it's working. So, and I think every company can benefit from AI, that's for sure. But I think how much prep work you should do, are you ready, integrations, ROI, use cases you want to implement for. I think these are the things I think you should be thinking about when you're adopting a new tool.
Yeah. Chyngyz, I know this isn't actually one of the questions here, but I hope you'll allow me the space to just kind of go off kind of script for the moment and just kind of ask a follow-up question to you. Do you have any advice? I mean, I know Kodif, you guys are amazing and transparent on, what the process for implementation is going to look like, what the clients are going to get, the service, the offering. Do you have any suggestions on like key questions that our clients should be asking in these, trials, in watching these demos that would maybe help them decipher, is this the right tool for our company? Any
Yeah.
suggestions on this? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think we have this, like guide, like implementation guide for our clients. So we definitely see that it's still the tool and implementation cannot be self-serve. That's 100%. So you still have to account certain like resources on your end, and also like resources on the company's end, and what's going to be the maintenance, because once the system is implemented, once you make changes, you want to make sure that these changes are reflected properly. Hopefully, the system you're buying, it's already built in a way that it will be automatically updating it. So making sure that there's not a lot of maintenance of knowledge base articles. And maybe you write a new knowledge base article. You want to make sure that it's automatically being directed into your AI tool. Also, like I think you touched on this, I think earlier, about integration. So what does it mean? Like, because we've seen a lot of companies where they built this internal tools, like in homegrown admin systems, where agents spend a lot of time, and unfortunately, CX teams don't get enough engineering resources to build those APIs. Then you need engineering resources to build those APIs. Then there's engineers are not available, so you don't have those APIs. Then it means you cannot integrate with a lot of things. So you want to buy off the shelf. So I think understanding like which systems you want to integrate with, and do you have APIs? Do you have maybe third-party systems? How easy the integration is going to be? And it's, I think the company should do a lot of like homework, I think, from that perspective. And I think last tip I would say is thinking about ROI, like upfront, thinking about like, okay, this is the use case, this is the promise, and like always think about like base case scenario, like optimistic and pessimistic. Like I would think about 3 scenarios, like what's going to be the improvement, and I think making sure that you have like one pager where you put all the expectations. How does success look like for you and for your customer? And then make sure that you're 100% aligned on this. And only then I would encourage people to start, because then it will be easy to come back and say, hey, look, we discussed about this things. Integration would take like 3 weeks. You said the ROI will be like 5x. And other things, right? And then you can come back and say, like, this didn't work as you promised. So, I think that's how I would approach these conversations. And vendors who are confident in their capabilities, I'm sure they would be like, yeah, let's do it. And if they don't get to that level, I'm sure they will either, give it away for free for a few months or do something else. So that's, I think, how, I think companies should approach this.
Amazing. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I think one challenge we see as well, I think on our end is, like we work with agents, right? We help agents with like these AI tools. One thing we see, I think we have a shared customer. We cannot name who, but you've been like amazingly great partner, like helping us to get where we want the usage to be. And but we see this case with other customers, with us, other support agents, that support agents are still not very, like, not very adoptive, of this new tech. Do you have any tips how to educate maybe agents, or how to how to get agents on our side? Because we understand internally at Kodif that without agents buy-in, we won't be successful. If agents don't use our tool, we will not deliver on the ROI. So we still depend on agents, and how to think about this education, maybe training agents, and how to get their buy-in.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think, I'm really grateful, because I think Boldr as a whole, when I look at our executive team, this is a question we had right off the hop. You had the mindset when AI was introduced of like, oh my goodness, what is this going to do to our business, our industry, our team members, the families they support? How is this going to impact? And I think having that mindset right off the bat really helped us to kind of expand the view of actually, where does this help us? And how does this create more opportunity?
Mm-hmm.
And I think having that mindset and doing training, having these educational moments with, our team members has been amazing in supporting them, in supporting AI. Because it's one of those things that if you can look at it from the framework of, AI is going to come in and they're going to help to get us information, faster, be able to, give us a better performance KPI output, that's really exciting. But on top of that, it's also going to allow us to now focus on up-leveling and upskilling our team, which is just going to create larger career opportunities. So I think for us, we really took this approach of, looking at the career path and understanding that if AI is going to help with, that tier 1 kind of support, those quick responses, that for a lot of our team members feels redundant and, probably not overly fulfilling on a regular basis. It's allowing them to then see, okay, like what is in my future? How do I upskill and, step up and take on the more complex inquiries or, challenges that we're facing? what other skill base or career path options are in front of me, and how can I move towards those with the support of AI, and backing that. So I think that that's really, really important. So customizing our training programs for that is definitely key. Starting, with that mindset and really promoting it internally is really important. I think for our team members to see that, we're not fearful of AI. It's actually such an opportunity for growth for all of us. And, leaning in, embracing it, and finding a way to work alongside it and really bring it in close and use it almost as a superpower, kind of that super boost that we can use, has been a really great starting point for us.
Totally. That's what I saw, from my conversation with you guys, with David as well. And I think, yeah, I mean, great job on embracing this, this new wave. And I think the way we think, the way I think I was, taught at, like from my mentors as well, who are like very deep in AI, like from a research perspective, what they say is, it's not going to be like human versus AI. It's going to be human with AI versus just a human, without AI. So you definitely want to be on the right side. So, and I think it's like you said, it just gives you superpowers, and why not to up level your skills. And I think, we believe like, this AI can handle this, like first tier tickets, make them zero touch, and then I think the more complicated tickets, where I think humans still can go and like, relate to a customer and, resolve a problem. I think that's where the human's role will still be there. And I think one thing we believe, at Kodif, is that tech is very much like, tech is maybe kind of over-promising so many things as well. But you need to have this moments of judgment tests, like we call it judgment test. When AI is presenting something, you want to make sure that it's, it's going through an agent, experienced agent, or, a new agent as well. But it's at least it's going through an agent, because going like fully, like with this level of hallucination, I don't think any company would be comfortable with that.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting you touched on too, Chyngyz, that we have a common, partnership, and their experience, and, what you've been able to see from their side of things, and the way that they've been able to support it. And I do think that there is a big kind of learning curve for not just the client, but also, there's the support teams that they have, in actually being able to get their hands on and experience AI being integrated into their work. And I think there could be a fear ahead of that experience or that exposure. But what I have seen is that, with the experience, with that exposure, with being able to kind of play around with it in a sandbox, or lab type setting, and then being able to really see how it is going to improve your output, your efficiency, those types of things. That's really where that confidence builds for both clients and support teams alike. So, yeah.
That's a good advice. Yeah, I think. Also one question I think we were, like kind of pondering around is existing support systems, right? You mentioned about, there's so many tools companies use. Do you see any maybe, particular challenges, or because you also, like from your role, I think head of e-commerce, right, at Boldr, like, so what do you think are the most common challenges with systems, the e-commerce clients face, and is it more like on the AI, or is it more like on really like, manual like workflows, or like where do you think the biggest challenges are?
Great question. It's a great question. I think some of the largest challenges are on the manual work. I mean, a lot of our systems now, especially with regards to like from an e-commerce perspective and providing CX support, we do have access to really great macros. And there is automation that is available and likely utilized in a lot of the CRM databases that we have access to. In some cases, the tagging and triaging of those tickets, getting them to the right person, can be quite a challenge, and it's not always perfect. And when that happens, the level of support or the consistency in those responses can be a bit of an issue. So I see that as probably some of the most current issues that we have with regards to the current technology base. And I know that, with the tagging and being able to assign tickets based on those triage levels, that would be extremely, supportive. But also having, I think, I know this is available in AI, and a couple of our clients have been starting to look into it, but um, you know, having the nuances looked at, not just tagging based on one specific word, but the actual nuance of the actual message or communication that is within an email, and understanding how to kind of triage that and what type of response that feels really consistent or answer or solution to the challenge that we're facing, gets presented or provided. And so that level of consistency obviously changes agent by agent. The response, the macro that can be applied based on, what tag is applied to that ticket. All of those things, it's pretty complex and it's not always perfect. And I think that's probably one of the largest challenges that we face, in our current situations, in our current systems and tech stacks that we have.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think CX tooling being fragmented is definitely something we've seen as well. Yeah, I guess maybe we should kind of switch the gears. Maybe we can. We have, I think, a few minutes. Maybe we can go to Q&A or.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I think one question is, I have been hearing a lot about researching hallucinations. What did you learn from this test? I think I wasn't imagining what. Yeah. Okay. So the question, I think, is about hallucinations, right? What not to say for the bot that you mentioned. So I would say, like, to prevent the system from hallucinations is it's the biggest, I think, it's the biggest challenge for adopting AI successfully. And the way I think we've been kind of helping to, constrain the bot to your context is just building guardrails, making sure, the context and like the prompts, the prompts you use are, really like constrained to your data. And the way I think the tech now works is basically, you take this like topics, right? You put them on the vector database, like it kind of, translate this into different kind of numbers. That's a simple way of like, describing how the system works right now. And then you would go and find the closest matching semantically, like, by meaning, and then would pull it back and show it to user. So as you can imagine, the system might result, in some inaccuracies. So that's why we built this feedback loop system, where we first month. So the way we think is like, it shouldn't be only there should be a training for not only agents but training for AI. So the first 2 months. So we have this like onboarding time, training time for agents, right? So there should be the same thing for AI tools. So AI tools should be trained as well. Like I think you can get to 70, 80%, I think, accuracy with the implementation, just, as it is. But then if you want to get to 95% or 98%, then this is where you have to be training it. So the way we do it, we have this feedback loop tool where agents can give us feedback. So let's say they give us thumbs up or thumbs down, or we see that they copied something from the text and they used it in their response, then we would rank this response higher in the future. We would learn from the inputs of agents, and we would keep learning and learning so that we can take this from 70% to 95, 98%. So that's how we've been approaching like this hallucination case. But there should be the training, for AI should be as rigorous, as time consuming to some extent as training for human agents. So that's what we've seen.
Awesome. The next question, Chyngyz, I think is for you as well. It comes from Helen. And I can also provide some insight on this as well. But what would you say are some AI tools that we should all keep up with in customer support?
Yeah, I think one exciting tool, I would say, is all these tools, they call themselves Copilot, like including ourselves. I'm super excited about this because I mentioned earlier as well, I think we believe in human in the loop approach. We don't think, AI still kind of can handle simple tickets, but I think to bring high ROI, I think humans should be, partnering with AI. I think copilots are really, really interesting. And I think being able to, get all the context, right, on customer, not only like the ticket, but also the customer, the history of a customer. So imagine you have a tool where you can ask, how many refunds this customer got in the past month or in the past 3 months. So imagine you have this tool where you can talk, and you can reliably, you can rely on this tool on the information it's providing to you. So also you can take actions from there, right? So I would say like AI copilots for customer support teams, I think is definitely something possible now that was not possible before. Because chatbots, chatbots are easier, faster to build now with LLMs, but let's accept this, it was possible to build them before. But right now, what was not possible before. And I think I'm excited about this, generative AI, because I think that's why we also decided to kind of shift our focus from like customers self-service to more like agent-facing use cases, because we believe that there are certain tools can be built which were not possible to be built before. So that's kind of how I would think about this. And I think AI copilots for everything. So I was listening to Reid Hoffman's podcast, this founder of LinkedIn, a few months ago, and he said there will be a copilot for everything. So copilot for doctors, copilot for teachers, copilot for support teams, for sales teams. So definitely, I think that's the tooling to kind of watch for.
I love it.
And yeah, what do you think? Like maybe you're also seeing some interesting tools and applications of AI in customer support, Abbey.
Yeah, you know what, Chyngyz, I actually would have said the same. As far as what I'm seeing as most kind of interesting and supportive of our team members is the co-piloting feature, and having that to support, I think, is phenomenal. I think it's also extremely interesting. And as you mentioned, the different areas, not just necessarily customer support, but, all almost of our industries are going to be able to see the success and benefit from this amazing technology, which is really neat. Yeah, that would have been the one just kind of off the top of my head that I think is, the most exciting and most interesting to see the continued development and innovation of it, for sure. You have your typical auto responses and the chatbots as well that are being supported, but I think that one's the most interesting for sure. We have another question from Sarah, who asked about the typical volume of support ticketing that we're seeing, coming in from these teams that are looking into investing in AI tooling. Do you have like a recommended ticket volume that you would suggest? Like, hey, if you get to this point, AI might be the way?
Yeah, that's such a good question. We thought a lot about this before we were thinking about, because we also have to think about go-to-market, right? Like which segments we should go after.
Yeah.
We saw that when you're at 10,000 tickets a month, that starts making like total sense to invest in these resources from agent perspective. But for customer facing perspective, I think it's never early. Maybe it's too early if you have like 100 tickets a week or something. But I think if you're at 500 tickets a week, which is maybe like 2,000 a month, then I think investing in self-service customer facing bots makes sense. And I think the biggest thing, I think with AI, this LLM chatbots, is that right now, it's so much easier to build those chatbots. It's like takes 5, 7, 10 minutes, like if you find the right vendor, versus like in the past, like we used to build like for months, and then you have to maintain it. Here, you don't have to maintain it. You just go and you delete the old article, you update the new article. That's it. You'll click update the system. It goes, the system gets updated. So I guess like given an amount of resources and time it takes right now, I think very small companies can also adopt AI for self-service customer-facing experiences. I think for agent-facing experiences, in my opinion, like the bar is a bit higher. I think it starts at 10,000 tickets per month. But then, sky is the limit. Like, I mean, the bigger the volume, the more it makes sense for you to adopt tickets. AI, sorry.
All right, we have another question from Jennifer. She wanted to touch base on the agent buy-in and training. Does Kodif specifically offer training for the agents to upskill on the AI side?
We are figuring this out right now, like literally right now. We started having this very high touch onboarding sessions. Like, I don't know if you know a company called Superhuman. Abbey, have you heard about Superhuman?
Yeah, I have heard about Superhuman.
So if you buy Superhuman, they will not let you use it until they onboard you in person. So they basically, schedule a call, 30 minutes, one-on-one, and they will basically go through every single step with you, because they saw that, if they don't do that, the adoption of the tool will be much, much lower. And making sure that the agents are using it. So we started doing this with a few of our customers, where we have customers with like hundreds and hundreds of agents. So we cannot do one-on-one, but we started doing the small groups, small pods of five people, and we would go and like spend 30 minutes just explaining how it works, so that they can really like use it. And we also like make sure that we listen to their feedback, and we make sure that whenever they have something to say, we address it, and we reflect this in our like either roadmap or feature, because we eventually, our users are agents. We we kind of talk to like C-level VPs of customer support, but I think the users are agents, and we want to make them happy and like kind of that they get most value out of the product. But right now we're doing this very high touch onboarding sessions. One thing also we're considering is like kind of gamifying it, right? Kind of having a prize. Yes, like having a prize, like for example, like let's say like in the end of the month, if you're in top 3 agents who used Kodif to help customers, we like we as a company, we want to sponsor some gifts, for like gift cards or stuff like that for agents, so that they can be like, oh, there is something as well to to use the product. So kind of high touch onboarding, and I think gamifying the experience, I think. And also, of course, I mean, the UX UI, I think it's definitely the answer as well, because I think we're all consumers. We all use like Uber, like DoorDash, like super like high fidelity UX UI companies. So each of us are consumers. So whenever we want to use software for our workflows, we also want to use sleek, really nice tools. So we also invest a lot in UX UI, so that it's pleasant for agents to spend time on Kodif. So that's how we think about getting agents buy-in.
I love that. And, on the Boldr side of things, it's really important too. Our training and development team has been working to create introductory coursework and modules to support our team members in understanding what AI does, how it can support them in their career growth and aspirations, and giving them a little bit of like a AI 101 kind of opening to, that. And that paired with the specific, Kodif AI tooling training, I think is a really phenomenal foundation to kind of get things started and have the right mindset in place too as your team members, move into this. So, if your BPO hasn't yet started to create that level of training with that mindset in place, that's something that maybe you want to ask about and inquire about, because I think that's also really important. Yeah.
Totally. I think it starts the kind of from the culture as well. I think what's the culture of embracing AI or not embracing AI? And I think if your BPO is not embracing AI, then probably I think, I mean, not now, but in a few years, I think you will probably fall behind, right? So I think talking to your BPO partners about how they think about AI and how they're thinking about their agents training with AI tools, I think that's I think table stakes right now.
Definitely. All right. I think our last question in our QA here is from Vero, and she asked, how will AI-powered interactions differ from traditional human interactions in terms of tone, speed, and effectiveness?
Yeah, I think definitely speed is much faster, right? I think AI is just much faster because it's available 24/7 and it's instant, almost instant. Even though I would kind of warn, because I think GPT-4, if you're building on GPT-4, GPT-4 is a bit slower. It's more accurate, but it's a bit slower. So if you're you have engineering team internally and they're thinking about building some tools, think about use cases where you want to use maybe GPT 3.5, where you're not really concerned about accuracy, but more about speed. Then I think GPT 3.5 is better. That's kind of our insight from building these tools. GPT-4 is great for long, kind of long form answers. It's more accurate, it's more detailed, more nuanced, more just more thorough, in its content. But it takes 15 seconds. So just be aware of that, whenever you're thinking about speed, between even GPT 3.5 and GPT-4. In terms of tone, I think, I guess you can incorporate the tone of your company. We kind of built this configuration internally at Kodif for our customers, where they can change their tone depending on whatever the brand's voice is, friendly, polite, cheerful, quirky, you can make it as different as you want. I think with human interactions, I think one thing is that humans can come with a bad mood or something, right? So it's, I think the consistency of the tone, I think with humans, I think it's not there. So especially if you have 100 or 150 agents, that becomes harder to maintain. And of course the QA teams, there to help ensure that the tone is consistent. And in effectiveness, I think I would say humans can resolve the issue, but bots sometimes not. I mean, the likelihood of bot failing is much bigger than humans. So I would say there's this trade-offs always between tone, speed, and effectiveness, and depending on which metrics you want to hit and which use cases you want to automate, you should choose either human or bot, right? I think for simple things where cost of error is not big, AI is perfect. For higher higher context, more nuanced issues, I think humans are the best way to go. So yeah, that's kind of how we think internally. Anything you want to add, maybe, Abbey?
Yeah, I think too, from my experience, really considering your company, your brand, even your product or service that you're offering, and understanding the level in which that offering has an emotional impact and requires emotional level of support. I think there's a lot of people who would love to just say, like, we're going to go all in on AI, chatbots, automated responses, and not necessarily have the opportunity or option of human, connection. And I think my only warning on that approach would be that eventually over time, we're going to have that same experience that we had back when phone trees began, right? We used to have receptionists who answered the phone, and then all of us have probably experienced that phone tree of like, press 1, now press 2, and you're listening for 20 different options, and all you want to do is talk to a real human. But they were cool and they were hip and they were efficient and amazing when they first started. And it's kind of that same feeling and kind of cautioning that you want to take a bit of a balanced approach. Chyngyz, to your point exactly, AI is going to be fast for sure. And there's ways to play with the tonality of, how we approach those, communications. The effectiveness is really going to come down to the balanced approach of having that emotional connection, being able to build real human rapport, which into the future is going to be shocking, right? When somebody now answers the phone immediately and you don't go through a crazy phone tree, we're surprised and delighted as customers and consumers in this world. Similarly, I advise taking a balanced approach so that you still have the opportunity to surprise and delight your customer base as you move, forward as well.
Yeah, that's great way to end. I think we have also the polls. I think the results of the polls. I will share some results here. So one question was, how do you think AI can help address these challenges in support operations? And we had 4 choices. One was automation of repetitive tasks. I think improving response time, providing data-driven insights, enhancing self-service options was number 4. 41% of people responded that automation of repetitive tasks will be, where AI will help the most. Which, I think my kind of feeling is that it can help with all 4. But I would definitely agree that automation of repetitive tasks will be like one of the the biggest ways. The second one. Oh yeah. Okay. So what's the biggest challenge for support teams when scaling operations? Limited resources. Number 1, keeping customers satisfied. Number 2, staff adapting to new technologies. Number 3, and handling increased workloads. 36% of people responded that keeping customers satisfied is the biggest challenge when scaling operations. And I think, to your point, I think human connection and like making sure that they get this meaningful conversation. I think that's where I think the human support will be still irreplaceable. So
yeah, and response time too is so huge. I think in a world of ghosting and leaving people on red, that response time is so important. So as you continue to scale, keeping your customers connected, satisfied in the time in which it takes you to respond with a helpful solution is so important. And so I see such a beautiful opportunity for AI to support these these challenges that we're all facing for sure, to make sure that your customers do feel that level of support, being heard, being seen, being understood, and being responded to, and a priority, which is really cool. So I totally see why that would be the highest ranking one for sure.
Yeah. This was great, Abbey. I think we're kind of out of time, but thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I very much enjoyed our conversation, Abbey. I think, we should do this again sometime in the future. And also we're online. I'm online on LinkedIn. Please feel free to reach out if you had any questions. So, and thank you so much for joining, Abbey.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Chyngyz. This is fantastic.